Hey, Chris. Good evening, everybody. We're going to admit everybody into the room and get started shortly. So we're just going to take about a minute to get you guys all in. While we're getting you all admitted into the room, I do request one thing. If you guys can change your name on your profile here to include the student's first and last name, as well as the school district they're associated with. So again, if you're joining, please assign your name as your first and full name of the student that is attending and the school district in which they go to school to.
How do we change our name?
If you go to the upper right hand of the box of your photo, there's three buttons and you should be able to hit rename and you can rename your name on the screen. Again, we're getting some last few people into the room. If you are just joining, please change your name for the webinar to your student's first full and last name and the school you attend. You can do that by going to the upper right hand of your photo. There are three buttons up there, and click on the three buttons and hit rename and do that. Okay, we are going to get started. So good evening, everybody. My name is Becky Kickert. I'm the Youth Apprenticeship Regional Coordinator for both Dane and Jefferson County and work for the Workforce Board of South Central Wisconsin. Tonight, we are going to be talking about youth apprenticeship, but also featuring two of our great highlighted programs in Dane and Jefferson County, which is our biotechnology program with BTCI and our health sciences program with UW Health. And we have two guests joining us tonight specifically to talk about those two opportunities. But first, we are going to quickly go through a Youth Apprenticeship 101. So Jackie, if you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. So I wanted to take a moment of time just to talk a little bit about the Workforce Development Board of South Central Wisconsin. We are one of 11 workforce boards in the state of Wisconsin, and we facilitate the Youth Apprenticeship program with our school to career coordinators in Dane and Jefferson County. Our workforce board focuses on connecting industry, education, and community, and we want to unite that with all of our workforce programs. We have a goal of helping build the skills for people with people to find quality jobs and connect them to training opportunities as well as local employers. Next slide, please. So tonight we want to talk about what is youth apprenticeship. So youth apprenticeship is a 1 or 2 year work-based learning program designed for students in high school that are juniors and seniors. Students that are juniors and seniors will split time between school and a paid job earning both school credits and wages while they are working alongside industry professionals and mentors. And in the state of Wisconsin, we have the opportunities to have students choose from over 80 different career areas across 16 different industry clusters, including healthcare, IT, manufacturing, and finance. We will focus on healthcare and biotechnology tonight. I cannot not say enough about Youth Apprenticeship and how it was made in Wisconsin. We were the first state in the United States to offer Youth Apprenticeship in 1991. And this last school year, 24-25, was a record-breaking year. But also, I will say we just got the numbers for this current school year, and we are over 12,000 youth apprentices in this current school year. That is a huge increase year over year. We continue to do that. And now youth are employed by over 8,000 different employers in Wisconsin, which is outstanding for our metrics. And youth apprenticeship is utilized by 99% of the school districts in the state. So as a youth apprentice, what is in it for you? So you, as a youth apprentice, get a huge career jumpstart. You get to go and get ahead with relevant courses in school, school credits, and there's even opportunities to earn college credit towards your career with many dual credit opportunities. Youth apprenticeship also offers mentorship. You receive practical on-the-job training under the guidance of a mentor in your chosen occupation. You are paid. It's paid learning. From day one, you earn a paycheck as a youth apprentice. And at the end of your youth apprentice, if you do a 1 year, it is a 450-hour experience. If you do a 2 year, it's 900 hours. After that, you earn an industry and state recognized certificate for your youth apprenticeship program. But there's also, youth apprenticeship is two-pronged. It is the student, but it is also the employer. So what is in it for the employer? They have very loyal employees with their youth apprentices that gain a ton of knowledge about their workforce by instilling in them their own company values. Additionally, we see that youth apprenticeship is a strategy to replenish a skilled workforce for our employers. It increases productivity, and it ultimately has employers become more competitive in the marketplace. So if you can go to the next slide. We won't talk about this too much tonight as our focus is truly health sciences and biotechnology. Health sciences is one of the 16 pathways, and biotechnology is home to the science, technology, engineering, and STEM pathway for a career pathway of interest. So how do you join? You should be talking and connecting with your school to career coordinator that is at your school. First, you should be exploring your career interests. Think about what you like. Do you like working in the indoors or outdoors? Do you like working with people, or are you more of a solo worker? Do you like working front-facing patient care, especially in health sciences, or do you like kind of working behind the scenes? You should be talking with your school counselor, your teachers, your family, and brainstorming ideas of what career interests interest you. And then make sure you're connecting with your school to career coordinator. When you talk to your school to career coordinator, you should explore the opportunity of youth apprenticeship. What are the programs out there, and how do you apply to those programs? And when I say programs, how do you apply to open job descriptions for employers? You should then interview and land the job. You should be applying for different jobs at local employers in your chosen field, interview, and then get that job. Once you have successfully obtained a job and have talked to your school to career coordinator and have finished your employment training agreement, you will be employed and be able to have your first meeting with your employer, mentor, and your school to career coordinator. And you will have regular meetings. You will have at least 2 to 3 meetings together on regular to assess your progress as part of the program and make sure that you're succeeding in the program. And then if you're a 1 year, 450 hours, or if you're a 2 year at 900 hours, you'll complete your job site requirements, but also remember you have to have related instruction. So you will have related instruction that is associated with the career pathway that you're going into. So you should be taking a class in your junior and senior year that is associated with your career pathway. And next slide. We are going to show a video featuring our health sciences pathway. This is a student of ours, a youth apprentice of ours from a year ago, and we're going to feature the health sciences pathway. So Jackie.
I chose this apprenticeship because I wanted to test out if I liked the dental field and working in that environment. And this was a good opportunity for me to kind of get involved, hands-on, and just kind of learn from people that have worked in this field.
I've always known that I've had a passion for helping people, and I didn't know where to start.
I decided to apply as a medical assistant because I knew that I wanted to go into the healthcare field, and I knew that this would help me narrow down exactly where I wanted to go. And it helps me get medical experience while I'm still in high school.
I chose the health sciences pathway because I've always wanted to be in healthcare. My aunt and uncle are both dentists, and I've seen the work that they've done, and I feel like it'd be nice to actually help out people.
My favorite part about working at Columbus Family Dental is the people and the new challenges that every day brings. Every patient kind of comes in with a different need, and it's kind of exciting to see how I can help and bring my expertise to each patient.
I love working with patients and seeing the difference that you can make in someone's day.
I love that I get to meet new patients in my job and new people and build my communication skills.
When a youth apprentice applies, they usually have no dental background. So our first goal is to get them to learn the responsibilities and the respect for the dental office. And then we go forward with gaining their goals of what they want to get out of this program.
The biggest benefit of the Youth Apprenticeship program was definitely the hands-on experience. That's kind of one thing that I carry with me to college is I have the hands-on experience, so I can come into like different environments and kind of bring that experience to the table.
I guess the biggest benefit to the Youth Apprenticeship is that I'm seeing what it's like to actually work the job. What I'm able to do as of right now is deal with delivery orders. I can fill out some prescriptions.
The biggest benefit in this job is that I'm still getting my high school credit while having a job in the medical field, so I'm getting high school credit and medical field job experience.
The Youth Apprenticeship influenced me in a very positive way, being able to work with dentists that were in my shoes, and they walked me through how they applied for college, how they got into dental school, and all those little things, which kind of helped me see where I can be in the future.
My future plans are to go to a 4-year college to get my BSN and then become a pediatric intensive care unit nurse. The youth apprenticeship has influenced my future plans because I found that I love working with kids the most.
The way the youth apprenticeship has influenced my plans is that I knew that I wanted to go into physical therapy, but this job has helped me narrow down the specifics of physical therapy I wanted to go to.
I would recommend the Youth Apprenticeship program for anyone that's kind of questioning maybe, is this the best path for me? It's kind of a good way, especially in high school, to just kind of get experience out in the field.
My advice to students interested in the healthcare field is to take all the relating coursework in school while you can and join an apprenticeship.
Great. So lastly, before I turn it over to Amy, is one of the last things that I want to talk about is the importance of one of the next steps that you have to do. If you're interested in the Youth Apprenticeship program, again, you need to connect with your school to career coordinator. Additionally, each school has a Youth Apprenticeship interest form, and it's located on our website. Also, you can use the QR code on the screen, and you will see that you'll be able to identify on a pull down box all of the schools in our area. And when you connect with the school on the website, you will see this orange box that says the school name and then YA interest form. All students that are interested in a youth apprenticeship program should and must fill out that YA interest form. So again, you can locate it on our website. You can find your school as a career coordinator using the QR code on the screen. So next, I am going to introduce Amy Provost. She's with the BTCI, and she is going to talk about the opportunities for biotechnology. Amy?
Yeah, thanks so much, Becky. I love that video. It's really shows what it's like to be an apprentice, and so I'm really excited that everyone got a chance to see that. So I'm just going to quickly transition here to share my screen, and I'm going to share a presentation. It just keeps sometimes like disappearing, and then I have to re-find it. Okay, here we go. So hopefully everyone can see what I see.
We
can see it.
Yeah.
You can see it. I'm getting a weird look here. So just making sure. Okay, well, I am from the Biopharmaceutical Technology Center Institute, and we are super happy to partner to offer the Youth Apprenticeship program in the biotechnology area. So let's see. Sorry, I don't know what to say. It's different than when I practiced. So Biotechnology Youth Apprenticeship, just a bit of an overview. So the BTC Institute is where you will meet for the Biotechnology Youth Apprenticeship class. And we are located in Fitchburg on the Promega campus. And so just as a quick overview, not to be too redundant with what you already heard, but this is a skills certificate program within the state of Wisconsin, and 2-year apprentices will complete 900 work hours. And we put during the business day, because this is a question we hear quite a bit. And that is, oftentimes students want to work on different, timelines. And during the business day, 900 hours of work. I think that I'm not sure. Can you tell me if you're looking at the same slide I am?
Yes, you're on slide 2.
Slide 2. Okay, so my screen is like split, and I can see one screen that's not. So you're seeing the text that also says, 450 hours. So we include summers in our hour counts. So one thing that we think is really important are sort of the work ready skills. So that includes attendance, doing well in school, having excellent references from teachers or other community members, and then completing an interview process. So the coursework looks a bit like, an extended class period. So every Wednesday during the school year, apprentices come to the BTC Institute. We're in class from 4:30 to 8, and students can get some hands-on experiential learning. So I think that is a really important aspect of this program that you can't really get in other types of programming in high school, right? So hands-on experiential learning, not just in biotechnology, in all the apprenticeship pathways. And so in our program, it's biotech focused. We emphasize developing lab skills, record keeping, communication, prep work and homework, consistent attendance, and a presentation. So all of these things sort of play into what you would do if you were to pursue a career in the biotechnology field. So then, let's see. In terms of job placement, we strongly support this because we know that a lot of folks coming to youth apprenticeship in biotech, you may not have the connections to find a job in a lab, and they may not, folks hiring for youth apprenticeship positions, they may not be posting in the normal channels that some of the students in other programs might see. So we very strongly support job placement. We share opportunities with students. We coordinate dedicated interview fairs, and we provide application guidance throughout the process. There are interview fairs that we host typically in fall for the start of second semester placement so that you have some skills to take to the laboratory. And then students, though, we encourage you to actively participate in job searches. And so make sure, though, you'd be consulting with us to ensure, is this, an appropriate lab? How can we connect? Are you going to get paid? Are they able to commit to the mentorship component, et cetera? So we have suggested resources in previous years that you can see here. So UW-Madison Job Board, job shadowing, or other networking in, area meetings or places where there might be some biotechnology professionals. So then we also have a list here of some of the work sites that we have place students in past years. So UW-Madison labs, right? Both campus and research park. Areas include biochem, genetics, dairy science, animal science, pathology, botany, entomology, food sciences. Mortgage, there's usually some researchers that take students, USDA. And, in addition to the large academic research that's occurring in our area, there's also a really thriving biotechnology industry. And so we've seen students go to Aldevron, ABS, Eurofins. So these are usually R&D or manufacturing placements, but they could extend into other areas as well. And so typical work schedule might be something like 1:30 to 4:30, or, if your afternoon is kind of booked up, you might prefer to work in the mornings. Maybe you'll come in at 8:30 and leave at noon. And then, usually you'll have a semester 2 schedule that might switch up a little bit. But we typically see youth apprentices between 12 and 15 hours a week during the school year, and maybe a little bit more, 20, maybe 30 hours a week during the summer to try to complete those hours to earn the certificate. So we work really closely with the school to career coordinators to think about your quarterly evaluation meetings and ensure that you have interviews, ensure that you have placements, ensure that you have first and final meetings with coordination of checklists. Now, that said, we fluctuate year to year in terms of numbers of placements that we're able to find for students. And so, the past year to 2 years have been particularly challenging given sort of our federal landscape and funding for laboratories. But currently, the youth apprentices, there are 3 students who do not have job placements. One of them has a very constrained schedule. And then we're still working with the other 2 to see if we might be able to get them still 450 hours by the end of summer with a placement. So interviewing, we're going to do interviews here at the end of May. Students can sign up for 30-minute interview time slots, and these could either be in person at the BTC Institute or virtually, your choice. And we'll work with Michelle to set these up. So in order to schedule an interview and to be eligible for a time slot, we'll need your we'll need your application, and some additional sort of feedback on attendance, grades, engagement with the pathway, and other references. So then I just have a couple other things. Next Wednesday at the BTC Institute, the address is here, 5445 East Sherrill Parkway. We're hosting our current youth apprenticeship poster night and open house. So students are doing sort of a discussion hub style poster session where they will talk about their research experiences, their class experiences, and engage with those who come to our open house to sort of learn about what we've been doing. I also want to say a word about sort of youth apprenticeship adjacent course that we offer at the BTC Institute. This is Biotechnology in the World of Medicine. It's happening now, spring semester. We meet once a week on Tuesdays, 4:30 to 7 p.m. And it's really intended to be a sort of an overview of molecular biology and biotechnology as applied to human and global health. So there is no work component. You get a high school credit. You meet on Tuesday nights. We move through a bunch of topics that are relevant to sort of, medicine or human health overall. And that might be an option if you're not sure if, biotech youth apprenticeship is, if you're necessarily ready for it as a junior or prior to junior year, right? Sophomore year potentially, depending on your past coursework. So something to consider for students. And then lastly, for more information, please feel free to reach out. Sharon Tang is the program director at the BTC Institute, and I am the executive director, and both of us can point you in the right direction for some additional resources. So I think I am ready to hand this off. So let's see. I think I'm good. I stopped sharing, correct? I know, I'm sorry that my screen is it's not showing everything the way I want it to. So
No worries. Thanks, Amy. And we're going to pass it over to Marshall with UW Health at this point.
Yeah. My mistake, Marshall. I'm sorry. I was supposed to pass it off directly to you. Thank you, Becky.
Oh, that's all right. No worries about that. Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Marshall Behringer. I'm the manager of Youth Apprenticeships at UW Health. It is my turn to discover whether the sharing will work the way that I expect it to. It sort of did. Okay. All right. Well, good evening once again. I'm Marshall Behringer. I'm the manager of Youth Apprenticeships at UW Health. I am located in Madison, Wisconsin, as are most of our youth apprentices. And tonight, what I'm going to share with you is just the high-level overview of what the youth apprenticeship opportunity at UW Health looks like for the coming school year, 26 to 27. I will say that this is a sort of inaugural event for us because we start our recruiting tomorrow. So if you are interested in a youth apprenticeship with UW Health for next school year, what I want you to leave tonight with is that the application process begins tomorrow. And I'm going to give you as much detail as possible about that without overwhelming you. And I'm also going to leave you with resources that you can refer to when and if you have questions. Okay, that's not doing. Okay. So, why is UW Health involved in youth apprenticeship? Well, we have three high-level goals for youth apprenticeship. The first is in career pathways at UW Health, which is the department that I work for. We exist to help open doors for people into healthcare. Everybody is aware of doctors and nurses, and I think most people have probably seen Scrubs and The Pitt and ER and House MD and all of these shows. Everybody is very well aware of doctors and nurses. We all need doctors and nurses. Doctors and nurses are very important. And also, there are literally hundreds of things that you can do in healthcare that span the educational spectrum. And so The first goal that we have in Career Pathways is to try to open doors for people, to help more young people find meaningful pathways into healthcare careers across the board, whether that be this being your first step on your path toward medicine or your first step on a path toward graduating and taking some sort of an entry-level technical role upon high school graduation. So that's goal one. Goal two is that we see this as a long-term workforce pipeline strategy. I think Becky indicated earlier on that the reason that employers participate in youth apprenticeship is that they need to take an active role in the cultivation of the next generation of talent. We see youth apprenticeship as an extremely valuable program for that purpose, not only because we have roles that need to be filled today, and in some cases yesterday, but also because we know that healthcare, depending on what your long-term goal is a pathway that can take a long time. And so by providing meaningful work-based learning experiences to young people, and again, with a focus on opening doors for them, we're helping you make decisions about the next steps on your own educational and workforce journey that will eventually help us to fill critical and ongoing workforce shortages in healthcare. The third program goal that we have for Youth Apprenticeship is to build upon existing programs. So as I mentioned before, I work in career pathways, and we have a variety of programs that are designed to engage young people in the breadth of healthcare careers. Healthcare is one of those things, and I think this is true of every industry, but especially in healthcare, you don't know whether you're going to like patient care until you interact with a patient. I think people have a sense of whether or not they can tolerate blood, needles, so on and so forth. But patient interaction is the sort of thing that you can't simulate and you can't get outside of actually being around patients. And so our goal to build on existing programs is to carry young people from light touch experiences like our HOPE program all the way through into youth apprenticeship, which is a high level commitment of time and energy on the youth's part as well as UW Health's part, and then onward into career pathway college internships as an example. I am happy to say that we are now seeing, after being in this game for 4 years, the first cohort of our youth apprentices are now starting to enter med school. So you can see how the investment that we're putting into these programs now is leading to these longer term outcomes. As for outcomes that we are looking for, we're very high level in general. Upon high school graduation, we want youth apprentices who work with UW Health to take any of the following next steps. We want you to graduate and pursue post-secondary education in a related healthcare field. That can be a 2-year, 4-year, it can be a 1-year technical diploma. We have lots of former youth apprentices who have graduated high school and gone on to a 2-year or a 4-year educational program and also continued employment with UW Health following graduation in either part-time or per diem roles. Another thing that we like to see is upon graduation, our former youth apprentices bridge into adult training or apprenticeship programs. At UW Health, the department that I work for, Allied Health Education and Career Pathways, we have a variety of adult healthcare registered apprenticeships. Some of them are the first in the state, some of them are the first in the country. And some of those first in the country are registered nurse apprenticeships, as an example, surgical technologist apprenticeships, as an example, where you are working, you are an employee of UW Health, you are gaining experience in those clinical settings, and you are going to school for those programs. You are paid the entire time. You pay no money for the degree, but you are going to graduate with the degree and with the job. So that's a second goal of ours, is to see youth apprentices graduate and bridge into a registered adult apprenticeship or adult training program. A third goal, or outcome, I should say, that we have for our youth apprentices is you can graduate and decide you're not going to go on to school, or at least not now, and then you transfer into either full or part-time employment. That's also valuable and valuable and a good use of people's time. And there's a couple reasons for that that I'll get into in a second. I'm proud to say that last year, at the end of last academic year, 100% of our youth apprentices who are graduating seniors who are interested in finding employment, they were staying local, they wanted to find employment, 100% of them were able to within UW Health. They just transferred into core staff adult positions. And that is a metric that we're hoping to sustain for this coming school year as well and onward into the future. All right. So those are some of our goals for Youth Apprenticeship and why we're at the table. What do you get as a Youth Apprentice? Well, number one is wages. You're paid for your time. The second thing is Youth Apprenticeship is a way for us to provide hands-on clinical work-based learning experience to minors. We are not able to provide clinical work-based learning experience to minors outside of Youth Apprenticeship. The third thing that youth apprentices get is the ability to network with professionals. Youth apprentices in this past year have met anesthesiologists, emergency medicine physicians, they've met neurologists, they've met surgeons, they've met nurses, nurse practitioners, nurse anesthesiologists, or nurse anesthetists, I should say, pharmacists. They've met professionals across the spectrum and made networks for themselves. These are adults who will later on be beneficial. They're the people that are going to be able to write letters of recommendation. They're the people that are going to be able to facilitate or set up job shadows. Those are the people who are going to be able to say, hey, I remember you. We've got a job opening that might be valuable for you. Youth apprentices at UW Health also have the opportunity to, and I think that this is one of the more important things, develop an identity as an emerging healthcare professional. You remember a moment ago, I said that interacting with patients is not something that you can really get a sense of or simulate. That's what I'm getting at here. By interacting in a patient care or clinical setting, you're going to develop a sense of who are you as a healthcare professional. You're going to develop enduring knowledge and skills. So we think about these things as professional skills or employability skills and technical skills. That's important. That's great. We want you to develop, and we're going to push you to develop in those ways. You're going to earn patient care hours. So not necessarily all youth apprentices work with patients. Many of them do. Being a youth apprentice is an opportunity to start accruing patient care hours that might be necessary for an academic pathway for you. So the quick and easy example is that most schools of medicine, nursing, and physician assistant, just as an example, have some requirement for patient care hours. Youth apprenticeships, where you are working with and around patients, are a fantastic way to begin tracking those hours because they count. Youth apprentices also gain the opportunity to explore their interests and do job shadows across the organization. We in Career Pathways have fairly limited resources to be able to facilitate job shadows for everybody who asks us for them. Lots of people are interested in job shadowing at the hospital, it turns out. Youth apprentices have access to job shadowing across the organization that we assist you in facilitating. I mentioned before that youth apprentices have met all sorts of professionals across the board. Many youth apprentices have been able to, by meeting those professionals, set up job shadows for themselves with their UW Health colleagues. We also lend our time, energy, and coordination efforts to assist you in setting up job shadows in areas of interest, to give you a chance to really figure out what it is that you are interested in doing. And then finally, one really important thing for us in Career Pathways is to make sure that when you graduate with concrete next steps. Whatever that looks like, as far as employment with UW Health, maybe it's a registered apprenticeship, maybe you are just interested in figuring out, what am I doing for post-secondary education? We pour a lot of ourselves into making sure that you have really clear next steps after you graduate. Okay. So who do you need to be in order to be a youth apprentice at UW Health? The first thing is you need to be 16 years old or older at the start of the 2026 to 2027 school year. Now, we've gotten questions about, does that mean that I can be 15 over the summer? Yes, you can be a 15-year-old and start working with us over the summer. If you turn 16 by the first day of school in your district in 2026 to 27. And this has to do with youth employment laws. So if you are 16 plus at the start of the school year, then you're eligible. You need 6 months of quote customer service experience. Now we have a fairly flexible understanding of what customer service means. In the past, I've communicated that we wanted people with prior work experience. That's put some unnecessary limitations in place. When I say customer service experience, I mean that you have in a formal either employment or volunteer basis interacted with people in a meaningful service orientation. You have met somebody else's needs and you have developed some professional skills in the process of doing that. We require that you have taken at least 2 related courses. Now, again, this is a general requirement. The reason for this is I don't want your youth apprenticeship at UW Health to be the first time that you've ever learned about occupations in healthcare, as an example. Okay. We are very generous with what that means. Okay. So an example might be, have you taken Intro to Healthcare Occupations or a similar class? Have you taken Intro to Computer Science? I'll talk about that in a second. The point is, have you taken related courses so that you have some background understanding before you're going into your youth apprenticeship with us? Now, there's a couple of specific things I want to call out here. The first is, and I'll talk about this in a little bit, the nurse assistant training program opportunity that we have. We require medical terminology. That is a specific course that is required for the nurse assistant training program. If you're interested in the nurse assistant training program, you need to have taken and passed medical terminology. It can be either through your school, the technical college, online, whatever. You've taken a medical terminology course and passed it by July 1st. The second is that if you are interested in a nurse assistant youth apprenticeship with us, you must have already completed your CNA class. Okay? We do not place youth apprentices into nurse assistant roles if you have not already completed and earned your CNA. Okay? The next requirement is enrollment in your school-based youth apprenticeship program. Now, what this specifically means is that you have talked to or communicated with your school's youth apprenticeship coordinator or school to career coordinator and completed an interest form. Okay. We are not interviewing applicants who have not already been vetted by your school youth apprenticeship program. Okay. So it is critically important in your application process that you have completed your school's youth apprenticeship interest form. Okay. And if you have specific questions about what that means, you need to follow up with your school to career coordinator. Okay. I'm not going to be able to answer that question. And then the final eligibility requirement for us is that you be able to get work release and prioritize your employment with us. Okay. Youth apprenticeship is a big deal. It is a big commitment. We have in the past had a lot of applicants who wanted to try to do everything. They want to do every sport. They want to do every club and extracurricular. They want to do every AP class. And then on top of it, they want to do their youth apprenticeship. YA is not a small commitment, okay? So it's really important that you be willing to prioritize your youth apprenticeship with us, okay? You need to be able to build work release into your school calendar. And the reason for that is that a lot of our youth apprenticeship placements only have work availability Monday through Friday during business hours. So if you can't get out of school with work release, then you're going to have an extremely limited ability to work, and you're not going to be able to meet the basic requirements of the program. All right. So, requirements of employment. You need to be able to work between 10 and 15 hours each week throughout the school year. That might not sound like a lot, depending on how involved you are in various school-related or other obligations, that might be a lot. Like I said, you need to be able to build work release into your calendar because oftentimes shift hours fall Monday through Friday during business hours. The goal of the program, in order to complete it, you need to work a minimum of 450 hours over the course of the academic year. We have an annual maximum of 900 hours per year. Okay, so you need to work a minimum 450, have a maximum of 900 hours each year. You need to be able to start on July 13th. That is the start date for the 2026 cohort of youth apprentices. And you need to be available in July and August for paid pre-placement training and onboarding. Now, there is a limited, and I mean limited exception to this. If you are not able to give us time over the summer, then that's going to be a barrier for you, okay? There is a paperwork night in May, and that information I'll cover in a second, for youth apprentices that we do decide to offer employment to. Attendance at that event is mandatory. And then once you have accepted a job offer from us, you're going to have to do employee health onboarding. So you need to be able to schedule time with our talent acquisition folks and employee health for a screening appointment that you need to be able to do before the start date in July. And then I would just want to call this out because nurse assistant training program and phlebotomy placements, they are going to have requirements as far as pre-placement training. You'll need to be able to give time over the summer to those two trainings, and I'll talk about that in a second. You need access to reliable transportation to and from the work site. If you are at all concerned about your ability to get to and from work reliably, that's something that you need to have a conversation with your school to career coordinator about. The next thing that I'm going to mention in this, you would think should be fairly obvious, but I think it's worth calling out. Youth Apprenticeship is a school-based program, but you are employees. And so you are going to be expected to comply with employment policies related to attendance, conduct, and performance. It's not the sort of thing that you can treat as, air quotes, just some school thing that you can blow off. Okay. It is a commitment, it is employment, and you need to be able to take it seriously. And then finally, and I'll cover this again in a second, tasks and responsibilities will vary by role. We have youth apprenticeship placements in 14 different operational areas across the hospitals and clinics. What a given youth apprentice will vary greatly across different placements, okay? And again, I'm going to come back to that and talk more about what that means. So, things to keep in mind. My next slide, I'm going to open up a public view Canva flyer that's going to have all of the information that I just shared, as well as information about each individual placement that we offer. Okay? Before I do that, I want you to keep some things in mind. First, there's no guaranteed placement. Okay? So we have placements across these operational settings. You can indicate to us what your preferred placements are, but we ask that you be open about what placements you would be open to considering. Okay. Most placements provide patient interaction. And so if your goal is to just get an opportunity to interact with patients, there's a lot of our placements that offer patient interaction of various types. Okay. So it's good that you have an idea of what your interest is, but I want you to be open-minded because you're going to have a good experience regardless of which specific placement you take advantage of. Shift days and times, I mentioned before, Monday through Friday during business hours is typical. There are some placement that have opportunities for evening and weekend hours, but that is actually not the majority of them. Okay. So this is again why work release is going to be so important. Um, I mentioned before that we want you to be open. So, like I said, most placements provide patient interaction. There are placements that have different modalities, specialties, and patient populations. Okay. So, as an example, we have imaging assistants, so medical imaging. We've got youth apprentices that are working in X-ray, CT, MRI, sonography, all of those four modalities. The youth apprentice in those different roles is having a similar experience to other youth apprentices in imaging. Okay. So if your heart is set on X-ray, as an example, depending on what your availability is, we might need to put you into an MRI setting, okay? You're still going to get meaningful imaging experiences. You're still going to get similar work to the other medical imaging youth apprentices. And one of the things that we do is, let's say that you're in a placement that isn't 100% related to what you are thinking long term that you want to do. We facilitate job shadows so that you can still get those experiences, okay? The last two things that I'll mention before we dive into the specific placements are, first of all, patient interaction. I call out in this flyer the level of patient interaction that each placement has. Now, there's a couple ways to think about this. Patient interaction might be you're just face to face with patients talking with them. We think of that as indirect patient interaction, okay? There are also placements where you're going to be hands-on with patients. That is direct patient interaction. Some placements have both. Some placements are just one or the other. But that's something to pay attention to. The second is a term that we're starting to use called messy biological stuff. Okay. Now that's the sort of thing where, just as an example, a nurse assistant, you're going to have to be okay with messy biological stuff because nurse assistants assist with cleaning patients. You might end up with bathroom mess. You might end up with vomit. Depending on the placement that you're in, like phlebotomy, you need to be okay with needles and blood. Okay. So those are just two categories that I wanted to call out before we dive into this next thing. Okay. So I am going to put a link into the chat to this document. All of your school to career coordinators have access to this document. It is the public view flyer that includes eligibility information. It includes information about our various placement opportunities. It includes information about the recruiting timeline. Okay, so this is going to be a really important document for you to refer to. Now, I went over all of like the why and the youth apprenticeship and what requirements there are. I'm going to give you a brief guided tour of this flyer. So page one is requirements and just general information about placements. Page two is the timeline. Okay. So tonight you're at the top. You made it. You're here. We're learning about our placement opportunities. I mentioned before the job post goes up tomorrow morning at 8 in the morning. It is closed at noon on Monday the 16th. So you have this weekend to apply. Okay. I'll talk about what's involved in the application in a little bit. After the application phase, we'll be doing 2 rounds of interviews. Last year, we got lots of applications that we had to winnow down. Okay, so we are doing 2 rounds of interviews between March 19th and April 17th. Okay, the first round is virtual, the second round is in person. One thing I want to call out is if you are interested in our nurse assistant training program, you need to be available for an in-person interview April 9th. Okay. We hope to get offers out to our new cohort by May the 4th. Okay. On May 20th, that is the paperwork night that I mentioned before that is mandatory for all new youth apprentices with UW Health. Again, for nurse assistant training program youth apprentices, there is an orientation, a paperwork and orientation night in addition to that May 20th on July 1st. The start date for all incoming youth apprentices is July 13th. Then between the 14th and the 31st of July, we're going to do all of our pre-placement onboarding and training. And then finally, starting in August, that is when we will have you start in your clinical settings for the most part. The nurse assistant training program opportunity, and I've mentioned this a few times, we have a very limited opportunity this summer. If you are interested in earning your CNA and being trained by UW Health staff, both in the classroom and clinicals for your CNA, we have this opportunity for you. It is going to be competitive this year. There are 8 spots. Okay. We pay you for a 175-hour experience where you're doing both your classroom education with us and then also your clinicals. Be mindful of those dates. So again, after the first round interview, if you're invited to a second round interview for the nurse assistant training program, that second round interview is required and it's April 9th. May 20th would be the information or the paperwork night. July 1 is the nurse assistant training program specific orientation night. July 13 would be your first date of employment. And then this is extremely important. July 14 through August 21, those are the program dates for the nurse assistant training program. It's Monday through Friday, 7 in the morning to 3:30 in the afternoon, 40 hours a week in person at our nurse assistant training program site. We provide you all of the textbooks, the scrubs, and then after you earn your CNA, you transition into a nurse assistant youth apprenticeship placement with us. You can only do this program if you are, first of all, able to participate in the entirety of the program. So minimal absences, you can't have a vacation plopped in the middle of it. And then the second thing is you must have passed a medical terminology class by July 1st. Okay? Now, I'm not going to go through each of these individually. I'm just going to call out how to read these placement pages. So each placement that we're offering for the next school year has a page like this. So at the top, you can see what the title is. It can be kind of a mouthful, but all of our youth apprentices are an aide of some kind. Okay. There's some information about what do they do. This is not exhaustive. It's just a high level idea. There's some stuff to consider about the placement. So remember when I talked about level of patient interaction and messy biological stuff. And then finally, locations and shift availability. Now, in shift availability, what I want you to think about is, are you able to work hours within those days or span of time? That's not saying that you have to work Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4:30. What that is saying is that you need to be able to work shifts within those days and within those times. Okay? And so if you go through all of these different pages, you can see, okay, as an example, another one, health unit coordinator aide. Well, this is what they do. This is things to consider. And these are where those positions are available and when. Okay. Some placements have significantly more flexibility than others. But I encourage you to go through all of those pages, identify what you're most interested in, and make sure that it's something that you can actually fit into your life and schedule in the next school year. So next steps, the job post, like I said, it opens up tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. I will send that job post to the school coordinators, and the school coordinators will then share that with all eligible youth apprenticeship candidates. The job post closes Monday at noon. The job post is going to ask you for your updated resume and this isn't exhaustive, right? It's going to ask other job post stuff, but I'm just summarizing here. It's going to ask you for your updated resume. You're going to need to be able to provide the following information: your graduation year, your school district. You're going to need to be able to rank your placement choices. So you need to pick 3 placements that you're interested in. Estimated work availability. And finally, you're going to need to be able to verify that you will be 16 at the start of the 2026 school year. Okay? When I say that you need to give all those things, the job post itself is going to have fields that you actually need to type answers into. Okay? I'm not saying put this stuff in your resume. The job post itself is going to ask you for this stuff. Okay? If it's in your resume too, that's fine, but you still need to put it into the actual job, the job application. All right. And that is what I've got, Becky. I know that that was a lot of information. Again, the Canva flyer is available for public view. And I will hand it back to Becky.
Marshall, I just wanted to verify and ask you to restate the CNA requirement. So students that are taking CNA right now, and currently enrolled in CNA, they are considered to be eligible for like a nursing.
Correct. Yes. If you are, yes. So, let me just go to that page. So, if you are interested in a nurse assistant role, you must have your CNA to be a nurse assistant. There is no budging there. However, if you are working toward your CNA, that doesn't mean that you can't do work at UW Health. It just means we won't be able to have you do CNA work until you've earned that credential. Okay? So an example of what a possible placement might be is we can have you work as a health unit coordinator in an inpatient unit while you're working towards your CNA. Now, health unit coordinators, we HUC for short, HUC for short, they do work in inpatient units. They help with the administration of an inpatient unit. They're not providing direct patient care. So that would be something that you could do while you're still working towards your CNA. But if you want to do CNA work, you must have your CNA before you
Great.
can actually be hands-on with patients in that capacity.
Great. Thank you for that clarification, Marshall, and additional explanation. So,
Of course.
we want to be very cognizant of everybody's time, and I know there's probably many questions still from many of you. So, to make it easier, we have created a Google form that you can use, and it's in the chat, to ask us any questions that you may have. Because, to be honest, we don't want to be on the phone for another hour with you all when many of the questions will probably be the same. So we are going to create a frequently asked question and answer document that will be shared with you. But I ask if you have any questions, please use a Google form. It's in the chat, and fill that out. And before I would say 2 p.m. tomorrow, and we will be sending out that FAQ document with all of the answers to those questions by Friday morning. Again, Marshall said the job posting opens tomorrow, and we'll have that FAQ document out by Friday. So that will still give you ample opportunity to make sure that all your questions are answered, and you still have the opportunity to apply for those positions. So if you have any questions, again, also, I want to direct you to your school to career coordinator at your school. They will be able to help you with those as well. But that is it for this evening. I want to thank Amy and Marshall for joining us tonight and giving such great presentations on the opportunities at both BTCI and UW Health. So thank you all and have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Becky.
Thank you so much.